Almighty God, we, the representatives of the citizens of the City of Brisbane, are assembled here to strive and care for the welfare of our city and all its people. Lord, we ask that you guide us in the decisions we make today. Amen. Brisbane City Council acknowledges this country and its traditional custodians. We acknowledge and respect the spiritual relationship between traditional custodians and this country, which has inspired language, songs, dances, law and dreaming stories over many thousands of years. We pay our respects to the elders, those who have passed into the dreaming, those here today, those of tomorrow. May we continue to peacefully walk together in gratitude, respect and kindness in caring for this country and one another. Please be seated. I declare the meeting open. Are there any apologies? Councillor Collier.
Chair, I advise that Councillor Griffiths will be absent today, and I move that they be granted a leave of absence from the meeting.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Collier and seconded by Councillor Kim that Councillor Griffiths be granted a leave of absence from today's meeting. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Any further apologies? Confirmation of minutes, please.
Chair, I move that the minutes of the 4,758th meeting held on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be received, taken as read and confirmed.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Dixon, seconded by Councillor Givney, that the minutes of the 4,758th meeting of Council held on the 25th of February 2025 be received, taken as read and confirmed. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. I would now like to call upon Ms Nicole Ramsey, who will address the Chamber on endometriosis. You can either sit or stand, whatever you're comfortable with. Thank you. Please proceed, Ms Ramsey. You have 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, Lord Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity for me to be here today and for welcoming me. It's a privilege to be here before you representing Quendo, the oldest running charity in Australia dedicated to supporting people with endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS and pelvic pain. This conversation is not new. In fact, it started right here in Brisbane in this very city with local councillors back in 1988. Back then, endometriosis was rarely spoken about, and those living with it had little support, few options, and no voice. But those early conversations mattered. They planted the seeds for what has grown into a national movement, and one that has shaped awareness, research, and policy for the 1 in 7 Australians affected by this disease. Why we're here today? Despite this progress, too many people still suffer in silence. On average, it takes 6 to 8 years to receive a diagnosis. In that time, people endure relentless pain, missed school and work, financial stress, and a devastating impact on their mental health. At Quendo, we see this every day. We're not just a charity, we're a lifeline. Through our free 24/7 support services, education programs, and advocacy efforts, we help over 80,000 people every year. But we can't do it alone, we need you. Queensland is the most impacted state. Here's something that might surprise you. Queensland is the most impacted state in Australia when it comes to endometriosis. More people here live with the disease than any other state or territory, meaning the need for action is greatest here, right in our own city. Brisbane has the chance to lead the way, ensuring that the next generation doesn't have to suffer in silence like so many before them. How Brisbane can lead the way. Brisbane has always been a city that leads, innovates, and that takes care of its people. Today we have an opportunity to continue that legacy by making Brisbane more endometriosis aware and a supportive city. Making workplaces endometriosis inclusive. Quendo already delivers workplace training programs to help businesses support employees with their endometriosis. Imagine if Brisbane City Council led by example and implemented this training internally. It would set the standard for other employers, making Brisbane a model city for workplace inclusion and productivity. We welcome your invitations to support your local offices and workplaces. Supporting young people in schools. Too many students miss out on education because of unmanaged pelvic pain. We'd love to work with council on awareness campaigns in schools so students, teachers and parents have the knowledge and resources to get help early before it impacts their future. Raising awareness across Brisbane. People don't seek help for something that they don't understand. We'd love to work with council to distribute educational resources in community hubs, libraries and council-run programs, ensuring everyone in Brisbane has access to life-changing information. The starfish story, why every conversation matters. I'd like to leave you with a simple story. A man was walking along the beach one morning where thousands of starfish had washed up on shore. He saw a child picking them up one by one and throwing them back into the ocean. The man said, "There are too many. You'll never be able to make a difference." The child picked up another starfish, threw it back into the water and replied, "I made a difference to that one." At Quendo, we have made a difference to over 80,000 people in this last year alone, one starfish at a time. And today we're asking you to help find more. Conversations matter. They mattered then. Quendo started back in 1988 and they matter now. Your homework today. Before I leave, I have a small but powerful challenge for each of you. Your homework today is simple. Share a message with 3 people today, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or a family member. Start the conversation. Every discussion brings us one step closer to a world where endometriosis is better understood. Include our free programs in your local newsletters. You have the power to put life-changing resources directly into the hands of those who need them most. Our service is available to everyone at no cost. Let's make sure people know that they exist. Brisbane has the opportunity to lead the way once again. Let's work together to make sure that no one in this city suffers in silence. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you.
Thank you, Ms Ramsey. I'd now like to call upon Councillor Howard to respond.
Oh, well, thank you, Nicole, for coming in. May I call you Nicole? Because I feel that you have started the conversation or continued the conversation, because I know that many of us here have had some interaction with Quendo, but your talk today really has given us a lot of food for thought, a lot of homework to be done. I have to call out Councillor Kim Marks, who took the time to check what colour you have and is dressed completely in yellow. And so on behalf of all of the other women in the chamber, we apologise for not reading how that works. But Nicole, it is so important. Your message is just so important to us. So thank you for coming to speak to us about the important work of Quendo and what it does for women right across Queensland suffering with endometriosis. Unfortunately, women's health has taken a back seat in the past, and it's thanks to the important advocacy work of organisations like Quendo that issues like endometriosis are finally being given the attention that it needs and deserves. And I don't think there is anyone in this chamber who doesn't know a friend or a loved one that has been impacted by endometriosis. And for many who experience it, it takes years to even become aware of the fact that they have it and that it's not always easy to know what to do. And that is why initiatives like your mentor program, the Quendo app, Find Your Community, the Manage Endo are so vital. And since meeting with your CEO, Jess, last year, I have often mentioned Quendo to women talking about endometriosis, and they have told me how incredible Quendo has been for them in all the support and the information that you provide. The work you do makes such an incredible difference for women suffering from endometriosis. And of course, it is incumbent upon all of us to raise awareness about endometriosis, and organisations like Quendo that are available to provide that all-important support. And your suggestions today have, I could see people nodding, so I'm sure that there's a lot of people who've taken on board what you've said, and anything that any of us can do to help, we will certainly do what we can to raise the awareness. I'd also be interested in talking to you about the training, and I'll do that when we walk outside. But we are also proud to light up our assets over multiple days in March to help raise awareness for Endometriosis Awareness Month. And so, Nicole, may I say a big thank you, and to Jess and your team, everyone at Quendo, for the amazing work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howard, and thank you, Ms Ramsey, for coming in today. Thank you. Councillors, we'll now move to question time. Are there any questions of the Lord Mayor or Civic Cabinet Chair of any of the standing committees? Councillor Gibney.
Thank you. My question is for the Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, over the last 48 hours, a cyclone watch and a flood watch alert have been issued for Brisbane. Can you please update the Chamber on the work the Brisbane Council are doing to keep residents safe, prepared and informed over the coming days?
Lord Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councillor Gibney, for the question. And you're absolutely right. We've had a number of watches and alerts and advices being issued by different authorities, including the BOM. And I know that many people are asking us, well, what can we expect? This kind of weather by its nature is very unpredictable. And you know, we all have a view on BOM predictions and whether they come true or whether they don't. But the reality is what we have a responsibility to do is to get prepared, to be prepared, and to advise our community to be prepared as well. And so here's what we know. We know that we have a cyclone that's potentially tracking towards Brisbane and definitely tracking towards southeast Queensland. We know that this is very unusual, although not unprecedented, but we do know that it is very unusual and it is potentially unprecedented that a cyclone has hit Queensland in such a populated area with this kind of population. When cyclones have come in the past, the population was much lower. I guess the development of southeast Queensland was not as advanced, and so a population centre this large being potentially impacted by a cyclone is something I would say that in this way is unprecedented. We also have a current flood watch that's been issued for southeast Queensland. Now, when it comes to cyclones, people are expecting strong winds. This is what they've heard. People are expecting storm tides, particularly on in those low-lying and waterfront suburbs or bayside suburbs. But also, cyclones bring significant rain with them as well. Councillor Cunningham was briefed this morning, or part of a briefing this morning from the BOM, and they advised verbally that rainfall of up to 700 millimetres could be expected over 3 days. Now, we are trying to verify this. We are trying to seek this advice and confirm this advice. But I think everyone in this room would know what that means. Because 2022, in that devastating flood, we had less rain than that. So what's been predicted potentially going forward is as much, if not more rain than the 2022 flood event that we had. So it's not just about wind, it's not just about the cyclone, it's about the rain and the potential flash flooding that can occur. And so this is a situation that we're urging everyone to take seriously. Look out the window this morning and it was a beautiful sunny day. It's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security. We're simply saying, please take this seriously. We know the vast majority of residents are taking it seriously. The incredible unprecedented demand for sandbags indicates that people are taking it seriously, and I'm happy with that. To have 74,000 sandbags distributed yesterday in a 24-hour period, we've never seen anything like that. In the 2022 flood, the peak 24-hour supply was 37,000, and so obviously people are taking it seriously. You go into the supermarkets, there is very little toilet paper and water available. People are taking it seriously. That is a good thing. The biggest risk we would have, I think, is if people were not to take it seriously, but I don't think that's happening, but we'll continue to work to get the message out to people about what might be coming. Now, Council obviously is working across all areas to make sure that we are prepared as possible, and that includes taking advantage of the fact that we have received a few days' warning. And that is not always the case. In 2022, there was no warning. In fact, the warning was only issued by BOM after it had started raining. And so this is a different situation which gives us more time to prepare, and we're preparing in many ways. I mentioned the sandbagging, and that is something that we always prepare in the lead up to summer. This time we had double the number of sandbags we normally have. But when it comes to our city cap fleet, we're busy spending today taking them all out of the water or moving them to safety. We've obviously ceased ferry services as a result as well to make sure we can make those vessels safe. But there's a whole range of other work going on across the city to make sure we are prepared. That includes also identifying and getting ready to gear up evacuation centres as necessary as well. And obviously we'll have more to say on that over the coming hours and days. But just to repeat again, this is not something that people should take as a false alert.
Lord Mayor, your time has expired. Further speakers, Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to the Lord Mayor. At the end of 2022, Council said they had 150,000 sandbags prepared for that coming summer. Yesterday, Council sandbag collection sites ran out across the city after 74,000 were picked up. The temporary self-filling sites closed at 6 p.m. today. Boondall is currently out of sand. Some people are leaving after waiting there for 3 hours in line now. Many residents are concerned they won't get the supplies they need once they finish work later today, particularly if other sites run out again. We basically have 24 hours now to get this right, Lord Mayor, so what is the plan to get sandbagging fixed so people will have that safety?
Lord Mayor.
Well, in terms of sandbagging, it is clear that this demand has never been seen before. I actually think it's a good thing. I think that's 74,000 sandbags out the door yesterday that can be doing some good out in the suburbs. It's also become apparent in this situation that Brisbane City Council provides a much higher level of service than many of our surrounding councils. And we have seen flocks of people coming in from other council areas taking the Brisbane supplies. I don't begrudge them that, but the reality is in other councils, such as those to our north and our east, people are required to fill their own sandbags. And so we have always provided a higher level of service. It's a service that is now being used by the residents of wider South East Queensland. And once again, I don't begrudge that, but the demand is not just from Brisbane, it's from other council areas as well. And we have never seen such demand. So we're doing our best to make sure we can continue filling sandbags. Our crews worked throughout the night last night. And I want to pay tribute to them and credit to them. They're doing everything possible to meet the demand. But of course, there are periods where we run out, periods that there are delays before we can get sandbags resupplied again. And it's easy to criticise this. But Coles and Woolies ran out of a lot of stuff as well. And they've got a national supply network. These are big, major companies, and with their incredible finely tuned logistics programs, ran out of toilet paper, ran out of eggs, ran out of water. And so that's what happens when demand massively exceeds supply. And so all I can say is we are aware of the demand. We are working very hard to meet that demand. We went into this summer with double the number of sandbags we would normally go in, and we have seen an unprecedented level of demand. I actually think, as I said, I repeat again, it is fantastic that people are taking this seriously. Now, no one wants to wait in line, and it's a frustrating thing, and I acknowledge that, which is why we've opened up new sandbag locations to give people the option, which is often the only option in other councils, which is to fill your own sandbag. We heard this very much from people yesterday as we talked to people out and about. People were saying, I have the ability, I'm willing to fill a sandbag myself. If I had that opportunity, I would use it. And so we've made that opportunity available, and it's getting used. It's getting really well used. And so people do have that choice. If they want a pre-filled sandbag, there's often some long queues and long delays. But if they want to take the opportunity to fill sandbags themselves, there is that opportunity as well. There's also been volunteers that have just turned up to help. They don't necessarily need the sandbags themselves, but they want to help. It is wonderful. It is fantastic. And once again, I want to thank everyone involved for doing everything they can to make sure we are as prepared as possible. We'll continue doing that. We'll continue pulling out all stops to make sure that people have sandbags. And as I said, the level of demand here, which has never been seen before, will mean that from time to time there will be shortages or we will run out, but that production continues. It went all the way through the night, it's going all day, it'll continue on, and we'll make sure that we do everything possible to meet that demand.
Further questions? Councillor Addaman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question is to the Chair of City Standards Committee. Councillor Hutton, we've just heard from the Lord Mayor about the work this council is doing to prepare for a potential severe weather event. Can you please advise the chamber on what other work is being done that residents should be aware of?
Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair, and through you I appreciate the opportunity to update the chamber on the Schrinner Council's proactive preparations for Tropical Cyclone Alfred. As we all know, Brisbane is no stranger to extreme weather, but a cyclone tracking directly towards our city is something that many of us have never experienced before. That's why we're taking every step possible to prepare and protect our community. The actions we take now will make a real difference in minimising the impact of the severe event. With Alfred tracking towards us, as we sit here today, I can assure you that Council is executing a coordinated response to protect Brisbane. At the start of the weekend, we had over 100,000 sandbags stocked across council depots. Since then, demand has been overwhelming, with more than 74,000 sandbags collected by residents preparing for the storm just yesterday. To put this into perspective, the highest single-day demand for sandbags during 2022 floods was 37,100 sandbags. The demand we are experiencing right now exceeds every record-breaking level we've ever had. We're now aware that sandbags have been temporarily unavailable at some sites. I want to assure residents that we are actively producing sandbags to keep up with this demand. We have expanded our distribution efforts to include 4 additional community collection points where residents can fill their own sandbags. As of 6:30 a.m. this morning, residents can now access these sites at Mortimer Road, Acacia Ridge, the old Toowong Bowls Club, Toowong, Whites Hill Reserve, Camp Hill, and the Boondall Entertainment Centre in Car Park 2. I can confirm that there has just again been delivered another load of sand at Boondall. Each of these sites are continually being restocked, and I just would ask people to be patient. I know that everyone is chasing these sandbags and we're doing our very best to give you what you need. I want to assure everyone that traffic control is also in place to manage the traffic flow, and police are also supporting in many of these locations. In addition to supporting residents with sandbags, Council has also increased maintenance efforts across our drainage network ahead of the storm. Over the last week, our team have stepped up their focus on clearing drains and cleaning gullies in key flood-prone areas to reduce risks of blockages. We've also ramped up street sweeping efforts across priority suburbs, including Albion, Chelmer, Coorparoo, Corinda, Fairfield, Victory Pocket, Greenslopes, Lota, Norman Park, Oxley, Rockley, Sherwood, St Lucia, Tennyson, Yeronga and Yeronga-Pilly. This increased activity is targeted at clearing leaf litter and debris that could otherwise obstruct drainage systems. Our gully cleaning teams have also been working extended shifts to ensure that our network of 18,000 stormwater gullies have been cleared. Every stormwater backflow device across the city has been inspected and confirmed to be in service. At the same time, we are taking action to prepare for damaging winds. Strong winds can turn loose objects into projectiles, creating serious risks for property and public safety. That's why Council has extended free green waste drop-offs at our 4 resource recovery centres. We know that not everyone can get to the RRCs during work days, which is why we have extended the operating hours from 6:30 a.m. to 8:45 p.m, giving residents extra time before and after work to clean their properties and remove any potential hazards before the cyclone arrives. Unfortunately, due to the increasing risk posed by extreme weather, we have made a decision to suspend all curbside collection until further notice. However, we are fast-tracking the collection of any items that remain on the curb where possible. Crews have been working throughout this week to clear the streets ahead of the cyclone, and as of today, 50% of the streets scheduled for collection this week have been checked and cleared. Despite these efforts, it's important to note that we cannot guarantee that all items will be collected before the conditions worsen. Residents should remove any remaining items from the curb and secure them immediately to prevent them from becoming hazardous in high winds. I understand that this decision may inconvenience residents, particularly those in Hawthorn, Hemmant, Lota, Wynnum and Lytton, where collections were scheduled this week. Likewise, those in Belmont, Chandler, Gumdale, Manly, Ransom and Wynnum West, who were scheduled for next week, should refrain from putting out any curbside items. While this is a disruption, the safety of our community must come first, and we will communicate new collection schedules once the impact of the cyclone is assessed. Our city knows how to pull together in an event like this, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge our crews. The incredible work being done by our teams in City Resilience and City Standards, alongside the SES and our emergency services. They will be working tirelessly over the next few days to keep our city safe. Their dedication and commitment to our community makes the difference in these times. I urge all residents to take this cyclone very seriously, prepare their homes now and stay informed via Council's website.
Councillor Hutton, your time has expired.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further speakers. Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to the Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, residents across the city are of course anxiously awaiting to see the impacts of the cyclone. We know community recovery hubs were a recommendation of the 2022 flood review. Some may need to leave their homes this week to remain safe during the cyclone itself or in the immediate aftermath. Can you confirm the locations of not just evacuation centres but also community recovery hubs which are more spread out throughout Brisbane so people can plan ahead?
Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Look, the community recovery hubs, they're something that's been initiated and supported by the Queensland Government. So that's the coordinating authority for those. We had a meeting just recently with some local representatives from those hubs who are obviously, you know, this cyclone wasn't part of the discussion then because it was before that time. But obviously we reiterated our desire to work with them. These are different to the formal evacuation centres. This is more of a community-driven response. And think about it this way, these are often community centres that operate as community centres on an ongoing basis that then switch their role at this time to more of a community response and a community support role. And so we'll continue working with them to see which ones can be activated. But obviously, a lot is determined on what happens next. And so there's obviously different scenarios and what can happen. The extent of the damage, we don't know. The extent of the flooding, we don't know. And so there'll have to be judgments made. But you can be assured, Councillor Cassidy, that there's channels of communication that are ongoing that we can activate these not only evacuation centres but also work with the community recovery centres as well to make sure that as much as possible is being done to support the community. And that's something that I am determined to see happen. And as I said, when we met with those representatives recently, we reiterated our desire to work with them in that respect as well.
Further questions? Councillor Parry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is to the Chair of the Transport Committee, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy, as we prepare for a severe weather event, can you please update the Chamber on impacts to our public transport network that residents should be aware of?
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank Councillor Parry for the question. Tropical cyclone Alfred is approaching Brisbane and is expected to arrive in the coming days. It remains unclear just how severely this weather event will impact the city of Brisbane. But unlike other natural disasters, the benefit is that we've had a few days' notice before the cyclone arrives, which means a few days to prepare as best we can. For our public transport network, this means multiple things. Public transport is, of course, an essential service provided for our residents. However, cyclones are not something that traditionally we've had to deal with here in Brisbane. So although we are still in the preparation phase now, there will come a time very shortly where everyone will have to seek shelter and remain in place. Access to public transport won't be necessary, and more importantly, it won't be safe. We have had multiple modes of public transport here in Brisbane, and each of them is being treated differently. Yesterday, we made the decision to halt ferry services from midnight last night. This is not a decision that the administration took lightly. We know that it will inconvenience people, but this decision was made because the safety of our passengers, our crew and our vessels is the top priority. Yesterday afternoon, the Maritime Safety Queensland Chief Executive Officer Tony Wolfe advised that all vessels on the water should be made safe and secure. He issued a yellow alert. We believe that alert has now been upgraded to an amber alert today. The combination of high tides, flash flooding, dangerous high winds and intense rainfall will create a safety hazard in the river, as well as 4-metre swells out in the bay. Tropical cyclone Alfred will also likely result in debris in the Brisbane River itself, as we saw during the 2022 floods. The most appropriate action, of course, was to cease ferry services, and that is what we have done. The process of ensuring our vessels are now safely secured has already begun. There are 3 options available to us, Madam Chair. We can remove the vessels from the water and place them on hard stands at Rivergate Marina. We can place the vessels inside protected and dry docks like Cairncross, and we can securely moor smaller vessels at protected marinas in the river, and we are doing all 3 of these options for our 27 city cats and kitty cats. Council ferry services will recommence when Tropical Cyclone Alfred has passed, and it is safe to do so. Of course, we will need to check and ensure that all of our infrastructure is undamaged and ready to re-enter service as we did after 2022. Moving on to our bus network, Madam Chair, we know that 2/3 of public transport users in the city are bus users, but we've never had to deal with a cyclone in Brisbane's modern history. How the cyclone will affect our bus network is not yet known. However, there are precautions that we can take. Right now, our buses are operating as per normal and no changes have been made to the bus network. The M2 service continues to operate as normal today. But as Cyclone Alfred approaches, there will come a point where Council will cease operating the bus network. This decision will be made to ensure that the safety of both passengers, bus operators and our fleet. We are liaising with the state government on this very issue today. Commuters should keep up to date with the latest travel information via both Council and TransLink's website using the Journey Planner, and we will advise further when residents can expect the bus network to cease operations. Now, consideration has also been given to our bus depots, Madam Chair. Due to its location, the Virginia bus depot is at significant risk of flooding due to storm surge and overland flow. And it's likely that the Virginia bus depot will need to be evacuated and the vehicles will be moved to Eagle Farm bus depot until the event has passed. This movement will likely commence this evening, Madam Chair. Speaking of vehicles, Council regularly receives new metros via car carriers. We know vehicle 9039 is currently offshore at sea and waiting to avoid Tropical Cyclone Alfred. So there is a metro that we will not be receiving anytime soon, but hopefully we'll be able to get in the next few weeks when the event has passed. Finally, Madam Chair, on e-mobility, we've been working with our operators Beam and Neuron to remove all e-scooter devices from the city's streets and to have them safely in storage by the time the event arrives. And I can advise that that work is currently almost 80% complete, and the remaining 20% of scooters should be off all Brisbane streets by Thursday morning. Madam Chair, these are just some of the ways that Brisbane City Council and the Lord Mayor and the administration are keeping our city safe during what is a very distressing event for us all.
Further speakers? Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for the Lord Mayor. Rough sleeping and homelessness have dramatically increased across Brisbane since 2022. As Tropical Cyclone Alfred approaches, some of the most vulnerable in our communities will be exposed to with potentially dire consequences. There is nowhere safe for people sleeping rough to evacuate at the moment, and there is a huge concern that the items, belongings and tents that are currently across our paths could become projectile issues. Can you answer what Brisbane City Council's plan is to support rough sleepers during this time, if there is a plan?
Thank you. Well, this is not something. The cyclone is not something that we've seen in recent times, but certainly what we have seen in recent years is a pandemic, and during that pandemic, the state government very effectively made sure that any rough sleepers were provided with accommodation. That is our expectation going forward. This is what we've discussed with the state government, and we'll be supporting them in efforts to do that. We believe that the response taken with the pandemic, there should be a similar response now when it comes to making sure that people are safe and secure and have options so that they're not rough sleeping in a cyclone. It's obviously something of great concern to all of us, and I know it's of great concern to Councillor Howard, great concern to Councillor Hutton, great concern to everyone in this room, no doubt. And so we'll continue to pursue this, but certainly it is our expectation that the state will step up the same type of response they did for the pandemic.
Further speakers, further questions. Councillor Huang.
Thank you. My question is to the Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, can you also please update the Chamber on the best sources of trusted information over coming days?
Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks to Councillor Huang for the question. While Brisbane is no stranger to severe weather, a cyclone is something that many Brisbane residents have never experienced before. Madam Chair, we can't control the weather, but we can control our preparation and response, and that's something that we as a council take extremely seriously. Preparation is key. Preparing now is the only way to ensure that residents, their homes, their pets and their loved ones remain safe. Any severe weather event can be overwhelming for people, and that's why it's so important that residents know where to source accurate information from, as well as trusted resources and tools to help prepare and stay safe through what will be a very difficult time. As a council, we provide information resources aimed to provide up-to-date tips regarding a disaster. We have a range of materials to assist residents in preparation. The Brisbane City Council emergency dashboard found on our website is the one-stop shop. I encourage all Brisbane residents and fellow councillors to use the dashboard during this time. Here you'll find resources on how best to prepare, as well as links to other helpful tools, such as the live Queensland traffic cameras, sign up for Brisbane severe weather alerts, finding sandbag locations, creek flood alerts, see information regarding traffic incidents, emergency incidents, power outages, evacuation centres and weather warnings. The dashboard also provides a chronological list of community service announcements, which allows residents to keep up to date with the status of the event. Further, we have all of the latest social media updates from Council and relevant stakeholders, such as the Queensland Police Service, the Bureau of Meteorology, Queensland Fire Department and Energex. We also have links to other South East Queensland Council dashboards available on our website. Madam Chair, the Brisbane Severe Weather Alert Service also provides invaluable information during a time like this, especially when we're facing a rare but a severe weather event. This forms a key part of our communication in preparation for and during a severe weather event. Our BSWA works in conjunction with the BOM warnings. We use the BOM's advice to develop bespoke warnings for residents that are signed up for our service. That way they can receive important weather updates sent straight to their phones and their emails. I urge once again all the residents of Brisbane to sign up for BSWA as soon as possible. The alerts also include information for preparation, real-time updates, as well as creek flood alerts. Creek flood alerts are developed from our own council flood gauges. As we've been told, Madam Chair, Tropical Cyclone Alfred is currently located off the Queensland coast and is forecast to track towards southeast Queensland in the coming days. The Bureau has warned it will potentially produce damaging or destructive wind gusts, as well as isolated heavy rainfall, which may cause flash flooding. I urge residents to make use of free flood mapping service available on Council's website, especially those who live in low-lying and vulnerable areas. The service can be used by all Brisbane residents to check the flood risk for their properties online. It's essential for preparation and to allow residents in high-risk areas to make alternative plans moving forward. We're continuing to monitor the situation, Madam Chair, and it's important that each and every resident of Brisbane does exactly the same thing. The BOM's website and local media should also be used during this time. Local councillors are also an extremely helpful way for communities to obtain relevant updates and information that's specific to their local area. So as I have said, we are urging residents to prepare for the cyclone as it approaches the coast. Everyone should take action immediately to prepare for the possible severe weather impacts, such as gales with damaging winds of up to 120 or 130 kilometres per hour, heavy rainfall which is forecast from tomorrow. This rainfall could lead to dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding. We continue to issue severe weather preparedness advice and warnings across all the relevant platforms we've spoken about, Madam Chair, to encourage residents to be alert, but most importantly, to be prepared.
Further questions? Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to the Lord Mayor. With Tropical Cyclone Alfred expected to cross the coast, as we're advised, either late Thursday or early Friday morning, Council has a decent amount of time to prepare for a potential recovery effort beyond that. Over the coming days, we, as you've said, could see flooding, trees down and other types of damage across the city. We will potentially need an army of volunteers that is better coordinated than it was in 2022, bobcats, machinery, trucks and many other resources in a recovery phase. So my question is, what have you put in place to ensure residents are well supported in the disaster recovery stage after the cyclone itself?
Lord Mayor.
Well, definitely we look forward to being able to absolutely lead and support any recovery efforts that are necessary. And just like we did after the 2022 flood, just like we did after the 2011 flood, and just like we've done after many smaller natural disasters as well, we will step up and we will do what is needed. What I can say, though, is that this is a little bit of a different situation between both of those both of those major floods. In 2011, it was primarily a river flood, and people will remember that the rain had stopped a number of days before the flood rose to its peak. And so sun was out at that time, and when the river went up and then the river came down, the cleanup could occur quite immediately then, because it wasn't raining. People knew it was coming and they were prepared. In 2022, it was a different situation where the rain, and remember it was a rain bomb that hit us for three days straight, and it didn't let up. And then as part of the cleanups, I remember we had conflicting advice out of the state government, and there was advice at one point to stay indoors, and the schools were shut down, I think, just while we're trying to plan the recovery and cleanup. And so there was an uncertainty about the weather. This one, we don't know exactly what it will be like, but what I know it could be like is that it's not just a matter of having flooding to be cleaned up, it's also fallen trees. And it's also fallen trees amongst power lines. And that is a deadly, deadly situation. And so we would not be initiating any volunteer response until we know it's absolutely safe to have people out there. We have had people die as a result of trying to clean up fallen trees when there's been power lines there. And so this is something we need to be very careful about, and we certainly wouldn't be encouraging or organising the volunteer efforts before we know that it is safe for people to go out and start helping. As always, the first place to start when it comes to showing your support for the community is with your family. And the next place to start is with your neighbours immediately around you. And that's obviously the way things organically occur. But when it comes to any organised effort, we just need to be mindful of the very high risk for trees and power lines to be entangled. And that situation is something we'll be warning people about. And it's also a reason why getting straight into the volunteering efforts might not be the right answer in this situation. But obviously we have to watch and see how it plays out. We are obviously aware that people do want to help out. And as I said, in the first instance, it's family, it's friends, and it's immediate neighbours if they need your support. But in terms of coordinating of efforts, we're always happy to do that. But we've got to make sure it's safe. And the situation in both of the major floods that I mentioned before was different in each one and is likely to be different again. And so we can have plans in place and then something different will happen. And that's what invariably can happen with these rapidly moving situations. But we acknowledge that there's a wonderful Brisbane spirit of volunteering, of helping out. It's the spirit of the Mud Army, and we know that people do want to help out. And we want to put that to good use, but we only want to do that if it's safe for them to do so.
Further questions? Councillor Toomey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is to the Chair of Infrastructure, Councillor Wines. Councillor Wines, can you please update the chamber on what work is being done to ensure residents remain safe and informed on our roads over the coming days?
Councillor Wines.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks to Councillor Toomey for his question and his keen interest in this. Now, as has been discussed by other speakers today, cyclones in our community are extremely rare, and part of that is that we must recognise that and be prepared for what this event will mean. In this phase at the moment, we are in the preparation phase. So the BI section, which includes both CPO and TPO, are in a preparation phase, and then obviously once the event occurs, we'll be in a restoration and clean-up phase. At the moment, Council is reminding all work sites, both private and public, to prepare their work sites for this event. And all of our officers across all of our projects are doing exactly that. So whether that be a large project like the Moggle Road roundabout removal or a small playground upgrade that's delivered through CPO, all of them are making safe their sites. That will likely cause some delays in the future for the delivery of those items, but what's important is that those sites do not create projectiles from the machinery, do not create unforeseen risks from the material on the site. Our work sites must be safe for all community members. We also have to set them up so that we can return to them quickly once the event has passed. Can I assure people that the threat of the cyclone is real and the threat of potential future flooding is also very real, and we continue to take precautions. On the matter of our transport network operations and the ongoing commitment to, regardless of circumstances, keep our road system safe and operating effectively and efficiently. Events such as these are a stark reminder that while we can't prevent extreme weather, being prepared can make a huge difference. And so we must urge our residents to stay off our roads and only make necessary journeys. Now, I appreciate there are a range of necessary journeys households must make in preparation. Please be deliberate in what you do, please, and keep them limited. Our priority continues to be keeping our residents safe. There will be a time, if the conditions are severe enough, that we will need to declare roads shut, which includes our entire road network. But that is an extreme weather condition with many risks associated with vehicles and pedestrians being outside at that time. In some instances, you may consider that the cyclone system is the wind equivalent of if it's flooded, forget it. Do not make any journeys through that period that are unnecessary, and I'd probably advise all residents that there's very few necessary scenarios that they would find themselves in. At some point, if the cyclone is as bad as we predict, there will likely be a stay-at-home order issued, and it's about keeping yourselves and your loved ones safe. Please stay at home. That being said, this is an event that may take some days, and our officers are already reviewing our automated flood warning signs to ensure that they are operational. And if they are required, they will work in an accurate and timely manner. That is a response. There were some shortcomings recognised in the flood event of 2022, which we have addressed now. There are 43 locations for our automated flood warning signs, which equate to some 100+ independent signs. We'll be using information gathered from those sites to ensure that we have accurate information to respond to localised flooding events into the future. Not into the future, as that event occurs. We will also be working with TPO and the team there have been working with city standards so that we have prepared a number, more than 20, of our traffic signal boxes are prepared and ready I'll frame that again. More than 20 traffic signal box replacement systems are ready and waiting for when and if they are required, so that when power or flooding or whatever affects our traffic signal boxes, we can move quickly to return the ordinary operation of our traffic signals. That preparation has been identified. As I say, we have more than 20 sitting in reserve so that we can move quickly once this event passes, and we can put our road network back into safe and efficient operation as quickly as possible.
Councillor Wines, your time has expired. Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to the Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, after the debacle in 2022 at the Zilmia Sandbag Depot, I was advised that a temporary sandbag distribution location would be established in Bracken Ridge in the event of a flood risk. This did not occur for this event. Why not?
Lord Mayor.
Well, we actually would love to have an SCS depot at Bracken Ridge too, which was our plan and what we were prepared to step up and jointly fund. But unfortunately, the former Labor state government repeatedly refused to assist us in that end. Our aim was to have an SCS depot and a sandbagging location for Bracken Ridge and the surrounding areas, but we repeatedly got pushed back. There were difficulties put forward and excuses from the state government, and also they refused to support our funding request as well to have that outcome. And so, look, it is disappointing. We'll keep pushing. We have a new government now. Maybe we can get some progress, but certainly this is something we've been absolutely red hot on. We've been determined to fix, but some of these things are also reliant on reasonable cooperation from other levels of government. And we don't always get that cooperation, and that's disappointing. And so we'll keep pushing. Obviously, we've continued to make sure that residents have access to sandbags at multiple locations, and we've rolled out additional locations this morning as well. We'll keep monitoring it, but it is a really disappointing situation, and I'm incredibly disappointed in the way that the former state government just didn't support what is a reasonable request. And we weren't even asking them to do everything here. We were prepared to step up and do our part and put in funding. This is the state emergency service, after all. It's not the Brisbane emergency service, yet we had pushback at every level. So it is disappointing, Councillor Cassidy, but it's disappointing for different reasons than you might think.
Councillors, that now ends question time. Lord Mayor, Establishment and Coordination Committee report of the 24th of February 2025.
Madam Chair, I move the report of the Establishment and Coordination Committee meeting held on Monday, 24th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by the Lord Mayor and seconded by the Deputy Mayor that the report of the Establishment and Coordination Committee meeting dated Monday, 24th of February 2025 be adopted. Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Massey, in relation to your question, I have some further information for you. As I mentioned, we had sought assurances from the state government. I have just been updated by Councillor Hutton, in fact. This morning, the state government has confirmed they will be able to provide emergency housing and accommodation to rough sleepers. They've said their officers have been liaising with people in recent days, advising that it won't be safe to remain in the park and working with them to offer emergency accommodation and housing. They have said that some people have been offered accommodation and haven't accepted it. They've chosen not to accept it. So obviously that's a challenge in itself, but definitely everyone is going to be offered housing that is currently rough sleeping. That's what we've been advised by the state government, and I welcome that news because obviously it's something of concern to all of us. In relation to, I just wanted to touch further on what will happen going forward. Now, there's still a great deal of uncertainty about exactly what will happen with the weather pattern, and these things can change. We've seen significant changes in the outlook in a short period of time already, and it can change again. We all would love to see the cyclone turn in a different direction and not make landfall, but we have to prepare as though it will. But we also have a responsibility to make sure that we provide residents with advice and information as it comes to hand, and also interpret that information in a way that is meaningful to them. And so what happens from here is effectively we will see if the situation continues as is. From Wednesday evening, there'll be starting to be a significant increase in wind, and also the rain is expected to start on Wednesday as well, so tomorrow evening. The conditions then will progressively get worse based on the current expectations and advice from the BOM throughout Thursday, with the landfall of the cyclone potentially being on Thursday evening or Friday morning. Meanwhile, the wind will continue to get worse. Meanwhile, there will continue to be rain. What we have also been told is that the majority of the rainfall will come after the cyclone hits land. And so that is expected to be on Friday. So at this point in time, we're expecting the heaviest rainfall to be on Friday. Now, I say again, all of this could change if the circumstances change, but this is the best information we have. Now, what do you take away from this? It is increasingly likely that on Thursday and Friday that people will be asked to stay in their homes and to shelter in place. Now, I'm not the person to make a call on schools. That's not within my remit, but it is likely that a call will be made on whether schools will be shut in the near future. But I have made a call when it comes to our libraries, when it comes to our swimming pools, when it comes to council facilities. They will be closed on Thursday and Friday. And based on the information we have, I don't think it will be safe for people to be going out using our pools, our libraries, our community centres. And so they will be closed Thursday and Friday. There's a strong possibility that other things will be closed too. And without going into the remit of other levels of government, there's a strong possibility that that will occur. At the same time, in these periods of rain and high wind, there's a strong possibility that people will be asked to stay at home and to not leave. And as Councillor Wines was already mentioning, it will be potentially very unsafe for people to be out on the roads. Once the wind starts, you can already start to see potentially trees coming down, power lines coming down, damage being inflicted by that wind. And so that is something to be mindful of as well. And we want the roads to be as clear as possible for emergency services to be out and about responding. But even then, during the heart or the middle of a cyclone, the emergency services won't be out either because it will be unsafe for them to be out. And so there will be a period where everyone is asked to stay in place. If that is in your home, that's where you will stay. If that is somewhere else, that's where you'll stay. And so this is what's potentially coming on Thursday and Friday based on the best information we have. I can also confirm that we've been in discussions with TransLink about bus services. Obviously, the CityCat services have already stopped and ferry services. At this point in time, it looks as though we will run services as normal tomorrow until the very last service. But they will not recommence on Thursday and they will not run on Friday. We'll obviously make an assessment beyond that time, but it is now looking like there will be no public transport services on Thursday and Friday. And so that discussion is being had with TransLink, and this will also no doubt come into effect with other transport operators, whether it's Queensland Rail or whether it's the private bus companies. But Thursday and Friday, I'm expecting there will be no public transport operating at all. And look, the reason for that is what I said before. We'll be encouraging people to stay at home. Now, obviously, there's a lot of decisions that workplaces will have to make. There are some workplaces that must continue to operate. Hospitals come to mind. Police stations come to mind. Fire houses and the fire department will continue to operate. The ambulance service will continue to operate. But there are also a number of businesses that will no doubt make the decision to close down or to tell their people to work from home. And this is another thing that we just need to anticipate going forward. And so before any recovery effort can occur, there will be a period where everyone is told to stay in place, to stay safe, to stay at home. And so we know that is a real possibility coming forward, but we also know that from Friday and even as early as Thursday, we may potentially see flash flooding occur as well. Depending on the volume, the intensity of the rainfall that occurs, we can see potentially flooding occurring from Thursday through to Friday, with the BOM advising that the heaviest rainfall will be on Friday. And so there's a couple of days there of uncertainty. There's a couple of days there where we have to monitor the situation closely, but we'll see at that point in time when recovery efforts can start. And they may be able to start on Saturday. It may not be safe to start on Saturday, and we'll have to monitor that situation as we go forward. And so I ask all councillors if you could help by getting the word out about things like public transport, about things like libraries and council facilities not being open. If also you can help by getting the word out about rubbish collections. So the red top bin will be collected tomorrow morning. We'll be diverting all of our trucks to collect the red top bin. And the aim is to get all of the collections done that are due tomorrow by around lunchtime. And so what we'll have to do is something quite unique. We will be using the recycling trucks, and that's both the green waste recycling and the yellow top bin trucks to collect waste. So don't be alarmed if you see a recycling truck picking up your red top bin. This is a one-off thing. We're doing it to make sure we get the job done quickly, because we want to get all of that waste collected tomorrow morning, and then obviously we'll be pausing collection services for the time being until we reassess the situation. So the other thing, curbside collection, we were trying to get the message out. We are trying to collect as much as possible, but as Councillor Hutton said, by sort of Tuesday lunchtime, today lunchtime, we'd collected about 50%. We'll do our best to try and collect as much as possible, but it is not looking likely that we'll be able to collect everything before things have to close down. And so we're asking residents, and I'm asking for councillors' help in this respect, to please encourage residents to take it back from the curbside and to put it safely within their property. We will give them another opportunity. So please don't feel that if you miss this opportunity, you've missed curbside collection. We'll come back again. We'll arrange another collection in the future, but right now we just have to prioritise safety. And so I know these things, all of them, they're all changes. They all cause a level of inconvenience. I want to thank people for their cooperation and patience with these things, but it is really important that we manage these kind of issues and also set expectations with people so that they know what might be coming. Because in the end, none of us have, certainly in my memory, been through this situation before in Brisbane, and we all have to work together.
Mayor, your time has expired.
Move for an extension, Madam Chair.
It's been
Seconded.
moved for an extension by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Dixon. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against no. The ayes have it. Lord Mayor.
I also just wanted to thank Councillor Cassidy and also Councillor Massey for their questions. Very, very reasonable questions to be asking. And, there wasn't any game playing there, and I appreciate it. And, it's just, I just want to say thank you. We'll obviously keep in touch going forward. We all have a role to do here. first and foremost during a disaster. You know, we're servants of the community, and put aside political differences, we work together, we try and get the job done to the best of our ability, and so I thank you in anticipation of continued cooperation in that respect. So don't laugh. Okay, it's all right.
Councillors.
Okay, give her a chance.
Yep.
She may well decide to cooperate one day, but we'll certainly be doing everything we can. So in terms of the items, and look, I just wanted to say, I don't think anyone wants to be sitting here for too long today. There's a lot of important things that we should be doing. So if you're happy to skip the afternoon tea break that we normally have, by all means, go out and have a cuppa when you want to, but we'll just continue to work through to try and get this done, if that's all right with you. Yep, we'll keep moving.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
In that respect, I will also keep things brief as well when it comes to the items on the agenda. But first, I just wanted to pay tribute and offer my thanks to the federal government. Yes, the Albanese government, the federal government, they've worked very closely with us on projects like the Kangaroo Point Bridge, and now they have agreed to partner with us on the Brisbane Metro and expanding the Brisbane Metro. And so they have very generously provided funding for us to progress a rapid business case and to start planning the further expansion of Brisbane Metro. They didn't have to do this. We asked them to do it, and they said yes, and full credit to them, and we appreciate their support there. I also want to thank them for their money towards the business case for the Story Bridge restoration project. Obviously, we had applied for that, and they gave us $2.25 million towards that, and so that means we can now get on with the process. And so, Councillor Wines, you press the big green button. We're getting on with the business case work now. They have also provided funding of $1 million to progress the business case for the Toowong to West End Bridge, which is wonderful. And they have provided $5 million towards Sylvan Road active transport improvements and the Sylvan Road bikeway, which once again I thank them for. So this is a good outcome. We're very thankful for it, and we look forward to continuing to work with the government to roll out these initiatives. We obviously had a great milestone as well last week with reaching an agreement with unions on the EBA. And so what happens next? We finalise that agreement, and then we put it to our employees across council for the vote. So even though the unions have agreed, the employees still have to agree as well. Hopefully they will, but we believe, and the unions believe, that this is something that should be put forward for a ballot, and we are keen to have that happen so that we can get extra money into the pockets of our hard-working council employees as soon as possible. Item A on the list is the fit-out works for BSQ and O'Connell Terrace, Bowen Hills. So just to put this in perspective and to explain what this is about, we had recently the decision to make about whether to stay in Brisbane Square or whether to go to a different building. We went out to the market to examine options, and through that market competitive process, we decided that we would stay in our existing accommodation in Brisbane Square, but we're coming towards the end of a 20-year lease. And so the building was fitted out more than 20 years ago as part of the construction of that building. It needs a bit of work. And so as part of the deal, we received a financial incentive to stay in our existing building. We received a reduction in rent compared to what we were paying previously. But as part of that agreement, we need to do some work to bring the building up after 20 years, effectively. So there'll be some improvements made to keep that building going strong and to support our employees. And I want to thank Councillor Cassidy for his support of this project as well. I think he said that last week or the week before, that it needs a bit of work, so we'll be doing a bit of work. So that's item A coming through. Item B is something that's been through here already, and that is the tailored amendment to the car parking requirements, so the Inner City Affordability Initiative. I've talked about this before. other councillors have talked about this before. It's coming back again. I probably can't add too much more to what I've already said, but the state government has signed off on it, which means that both the former Labor government signed off on it and the new LNP government have signed off on it. So it seems to have bipartisan support, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Further speakers, Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Chair. I won't speak very long on this. These two items. I'll cover off item B by saying we raised concerns, and I think very valid concerns, about the car parking arrangements, the reduction of car parking ratios. But on balance, as we have debated and hear it twice already, we decided to support them. But so our concerns are on record, and as I said then, I'll say again now, this is the solution and the legacy of Councillor Allen and the Lord Mayor to solving Brisbane's housing crisis and reducing the price of rents and purchase price of properties to get people in, increasing affordability. So time will tell. Time will tell. We have decided to work cooperatively in this instance to try and see a result. So we'll be supporting item B. Can I ask that item A, though, is taken seriatim for voting? And I have a few brief comments about that, some concerns we have about item A. So they'll be taken separately. So I do take the Lord Mayor's comment that I did say last week or the week before that Brisbane Square was looking pretty shabby, and certainly some work needs to be done up there, particularly in the context of Green Square emptying and a lot of those staff finding themselves working in Brisbane Square. At the moment, I understand there's already hot desking arrangements in Brisbane Square where people have a laminated piece of paper with their name on it, and they'll come in and stick that on the desk. When they're working in there, some people might work 2 or 3 days in there and at home 2 or 3 days potentially. Sometimes the same every week, sometimes not. So I understand there's flexibility arrangements that staff love and value, but also that will have to be a feature as well, and how that is managed going forward in terms of how staff are able to work together and collaborate in a newly fitted out Brisbane Square that has to accommodate a whole lot of other staff that used to do a whole lot of things down at Green Square, including city business, people and culture, transport planning and operations, customer and community services, planning and design, construction, finance, information services, and engineers, legal team and others, all vital services for the operation of council itself. And you know, we just want to make sure, and this item is about refitting a space to fit all those people in. We have just seen a prolonged negotiation with council's workforce around reducing the push from council to reduce redundancy entitlements. You know, with that attitude plus consolidating a large workforce into a smaller location does ring some alarm bells for us, given that there's 3,700 staff working across both sites at Green Square and Brisbane Square. So there's some concerns we raised around that. The workspaces do need to be better, I think, for staff that are up there. You know, I go up and look at files on level, whatever that is, 8, 16? I can't remember, 16. I go to 8 for something else maybe. On level 16, and you know, this the hot desk arrangements results in files stacked, you know, reams and reams high on desks that aren't other people's work that they're working on, working around that sort of stuff, and the little lockers they've got to use. And so I get, you know, people love their jobs and work there, but they do need better support, I think, in there. The other item that's in here as well, though, I don't think the Lord Mayor actually mentioned it, was 41 O'Connell Terrace. I might not have heard, I'm sorry, but the fit out for 41 O'Connell Terrace, Bowen Hills, is currently a site the council leases, has now been identified as a work site or a depot of some kind that council now wants to utilise. So the sublease arrangement is being terminated or finished, and council will take up that lease for itself and will require a fit out at that address, 41 O'Connell Terrace, Bowen Hills. Now this is a commercial property that is now owned by somebody, and council leases it as a private lease, but it used to be owned by CBIC, which should read Brisbane City Council. So the City of Brisbane Investment Corporation was a wholly owned subsidiary of council, and I think it was 2016 that complex was sold off by CBIC. I don't know whether they needed the cash flow at the time or didn't see it as a viable investment to draw rent from. Clearly is. Council was paying itself rent at the time. Now we are paying a private operator rent on a building that was owned by the people of Brisbane, and it's clearly been identified as a vital location, which has been identified as a, in the words of the report, a suitable location for a council branch. It's not clear in there. It's clear what is included in Brisbane Square in Green Square going to Brisbane Square and out to the big shed at Eagle Farm, but it's not clear what's happening with this site and what that means for council's workforce and service delivery. So without fulsome information on that item before us today, we won't be supporting that one. Thank you.
Further speakers? Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I rise to speak briefly on item A. So on November 22nd in 2022, Council approved entering into a new lease with Charter Hall at Brisbane Square on George Street from 2022 to 2038. This secured Council's future accommodation requirements, enabling staff at Brisbane Square and Green Square in Fortitude Valley to be able to come together and to operate from a central location before Council's lease at Green Square ended in 2027. By leaving Green Square, the rental savings to Council will be around $16 million per year. As part of the new lease agreement for Brisbane Square, landlord works and changes to the fit-out by Council are required. Further, through those negotiations, a landlord incentive payment was secured. The fit-out costs to Council to refurbish and refit Brisbane Square will be funded out of the landlord incentive. Ensuring our city-based council staff have a well-located workplace with great public and active transport links is crucial, as is providing a space that meets modern, flexible workplace practices. Importantly, Madam Chair, the agreement with Charter Hall, which keeps Council at Brisbane Square until 2038, was the most cost-effective solution for ratepayers and the best outcome for staff. The modern refurbishment of Brisbane Square will provide stability while offering an appealing and productive environment for employees. Brisbane Square's existing fit-out is now 20 years old, as the Lord Mayor indicated, and dedicates significant space in that building to storage, which is now obviously underutilised and reflects the ways of working at Council as they were in 2006. Oh, how times have changed. The fit-out works will deliver a sustainable solution to accommodate a hybrid workforce that will allow for staff from Green Square and Brisbane Square to come together under one roof. Improved amenities will be provided by taking areas previously used for document storage and outdated paper-based processes and turning them into additional meeting rooms, breakout areas, personal storage areas and collaborative group workspaces. Combined with hybrid working models and flexible arrangements that support council staff, the fit-out will create cost-effective and efficient workspaces for current employees and, importantly, and listen carefully, also allow for potential future growth of employees at Brisbane City Council. The project will reuse existing furniture in meeting rooms and desks throughout the building wherever possible to, of course, minimise waste and landfill. The redesigned floor layouts and social spaces will foster better collaboration and align with Council's ways of working, creating a refreshed and functional environment. Further, Council has leased office space at O'Connell Terrace in Bowen Hills, which is currently being subleased and will become vacant in mid-2025. This space, when vacant, will be refit and has been identified as an additional suitable location for Council work areas. This location includes facilities such as additional parking for Council vehicles, washdown bays and better storage for central Brisbane-based field workers. These projects are scheduled for completion by mid-2027, ahead of Council's lease expiration at Green Square. Madam Chair, this initiative delivers a positive outcome for Council and an even better one for our dedicated staff, providing modern, functional and collaborative spaces to continue to serve the people of Brisbane. Finally, Madam Chair, when it comes to, through you, Councillor Cassidy's comments about CBIC, quite frankly, I'll take the advice of CBIC property experts any day over that of the Leader of the Opposition.
Further speakers? Councillor Chongwa.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on this ENC committee submission for fit-out works that, as usual, is an LNP executive acting incredibly undemocratically, impervious to ongoing criticisms from these chambers about their lack of transparency and basic democratic integrity. We are being asked to vote on a fit-out when in fact that we are really voting on is probably the biggest change to our workforce conditions and human resources strategy probably in decades. With over 3,700 council staff affected, councillors should be provided with basic information on council strategy and a report on this massive change for council staff. What is provided is a report on leasing, not the huge human resources change that is just part of it. I want to be clear that I support hybrid working environments. The Greens support flexible work arrangements, allowing staff to work remotely or in hybrid model, along with flexible working hours. However, being asked to vote on a massive changes to council staff and long-term leases of our offices with no basic information on strategy or impacts to 3,700 staff is undemocratic and incredibly arrogant. It is not possible to vote in support of this motion in these circumstances. Are there going to be more staffing reductions to make this happen? Will workers be forced to park council vehicles at their homes? There are many questions and no answers provided by this autocratic, secretive LNP Council. Thanks, Chair.
Further speakers? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I couldn't agree more with Councillor Chong-Wah. Unfortunately, with respect to item A, unfortunately this council is decimating our workforce, which is our most important resource. We know they're smashing through multiple divisions and parts of council, and it is unfortunate that they continue to do this and have such serious human impacts. So thank you, Councillor Chong-Wah. I agree with you completely, and I won't be supporting this.
Further speakers? Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to speak on item B. As I understand it, it's A and B for debate, but A and B seriatim for vote. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. I rise to speak on item B, tailored amendment to Brisbane City Plan 2014. Like the Lord Mayor, I will be relatively brief on this. It's been to the chamber a few times and has received support, but I did want to make a couple of quick points. Obviously, this has come back from the state government recently, and as the Lord Mayor pointed out, got support from the current government, but also the previous state government. I'd also like to congratulate not only council officers, but state officers who've worked on this particular amendment, and a credit to all of them to turn it around so quickly. As I've pointed out previously on this matter, we are confident that this will certainly help to drive down construction costs and ultimately reduce purchase prices and rental cost. And it would be fair to say, if this amendment hadn't been brought through, we could certainly guarantee that costs would be higher. And industry feedback was that the cost of a podium or a basement car park could be up to $100,000. So we're very conscious that this will have a downward impact on costings. To the point that the Greens regularly make, they need to remember that 96% of housing in this city is built by the private sector. You know, they're happy to vilify them at every opportunity, but they have no cogent pathway to building this stuff unless it's built by the private sector. So they need to get up in this chamber at some point and say, if the private sector isn't building it, who is? Anyway, we'll leave that for another day. Now, importantly, this amendment is only about the city core and the city frame. These are the areas that are best served in terms of public transport and amenity. So it does make sense for these parking changes to occur in those locations. We've had support on this particular amendment from the Greens and the Labor Party, and we hope to have the same support today. Thank you.
Further speakers? No further speakers. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour, item A to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. No. The ayes have
Division.
it. Division has been called by Councillor Cassidy and seconded by Councillor Collier. Ayes to my right, noes to my left. Clerks, please ring the bells. Clerks, please read the results.
Madam Chair, the ayes have it, the voting being 18 in favour, 2 against and 4 abstentions.
Motion is carried. Councillors, please resume your seats. Councillors, please resume your seats. We'll now put item B to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Councillor Murphy, Transport Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Transport Committee meeting dated Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Murphy and seconded by Councillor Parry that the report of the Transport Committee meeting dated Tuesday 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Councillor Murphy. Any further speakers? We'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Councillor Wines, Infrastructure Committee.
Madam Chair, I move that the report of the Infrastructure Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Wines and seconded by Councillor Huang that the report of the Infrastructure Committee meeting dated Tuesday 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just very quickly, the committee heard a report on 2 worthy intersection upgrades delivered by our organisation, and there were 3 petitions considered. I look forward to further comment.
Further speakers? Councillor Strunk.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the item C is taken seriatim for voting purposes and debate, I suppose. Yeah. Just voting, sorry. Good to go? Okay. Item C, the petition for traffic calming in this location is an item that we don't agree with the recommendation from council officers. They've indicated that they are going to do a traffic survey, but I don't know if that traffic survey will be made available to the petitioners. And we don't know what the outcome and how long that outcome or the results of the survey will take to be made available to either the petitioners or to us as well. So basically, the issue is it's the road directly behind a very large shopping centre, which has quite a lot of traffic. And it's a bit of a rat run as well. And I think traffic calming is something that could ameliorate that issue with the rat running, or at least slow the traffic down as well. So it's something that we're not going to support the recommendation simply because I think it's kicking the problem down the road. And I think these petitioners, even though only 10 of them are locals, but no doubt the other 18 are probably their relatives that maybe come to visit and would like to see some work done in this space on that road. Thank you, Chair.
Further speakers? No further speakers. We'll now... Councillor Wines.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just in response to Councillor Strunk. So the resolution of the committee was that in response to the petitioners, we would consider and do a traffic count as to whether there were, in fact, enough motor vehicles at a particular speed going through Morelda Street to justify traffic calming. There's also some discussion at the meeting about the need that if you were to do Morelda, you may need to do a precinct rather than that particular street. I have confidence that Councillor Marx will be able to carry the argument one way or another for her constituents, and we look forward to the further steps as outlined in the response proceeding. Thank you.
We'll now put A, B and D to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. We'll now put item C to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. No. The ayes have it.
Division.
Division.
Division called by Councillor Collier and seconded by Councillor Strunk. Councillors, ayes to my right and noes to my left. Clerks, please read the bell. Ring the bells. Clerks, please read the results.
Madam Chair, the ayes have it, the voting being 18 in favour and 6 against.
Councillors, the motion is carried. Please resume your seats. Councillor Allen, City Planning, and councillors. Councillor Allen, City Planning and Suburban Renewal Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the report of the City Planning and Suburban Renewal Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor Wolfe that the report of the City Planning and Suburban Renewal Committee meeting dated Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item A was a committee presentation for an approved development at 77 Racecourse Road at Ascot. In the interests of time and getting back to our communities, I'll leave further debate to the chamber.
Are there any further speakers? No further speakers. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. It's carried. Councillor Davis, Environment, Parks and Sustainability Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the report of the Environment, Parks and Sustainability Committee meeting of Tuesday, 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Davis and seconded by Councillor Marx that the report of the Environment, Parks and Sustainability Committee meeting dated Tuesday the 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week's presentation was a history of the curators of the City Botanic Gardens, and it was wonderful to have Dale Arvidson, who has been the curator since 2015, present to the committee. We also considered a petition and a number of Suburban Enhancement Fund submissions, and I'll leave further debate to the chamber.
Are there any further speakers? Councillor Johnston.
Just, Madam Chairman, can item B be taken seriatim?
Okay, thank you. Any further speakers? We'll now put item A to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. We'll now put item B to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it.
Division.
Seconded.
Division called by Councillor Tongwa and seconded by Councillor Johnston. Councillors, ayes to my right and noes to my left. Ring the bells. Clerks, please read the results.
Madam Chair, the ayes have it, the voting being 22 in favour, 1 against and 1 abstention.
The motion is carried. Councillors, please resume your seats. Councillor Hutton, City Standards Committee.
Madam Chair, I move the report of the City Standards Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Hutton and seconded by Councillor Adamant that the report of the City Standards Committee meeting dated Tuesday, 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the interest of heading back to our communities before this disaster, I will leave my comments no further. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No further speakers. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Councillor Howard, Community and the Arts Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the report of the Community and the Arts Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Councillor Howard and seconded by Councillor Atwood that the report of the Community and the Arts Committee meeting dated Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in the interest of getting back into the community ahead of the disaster, I will leave my comments in response to any debate from the chamber, but I do want to say a big congratulations to Opera Queensland who have their launch tonight. I hope everyone still goes along to the opera. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? No further speakers. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Deputy Mayor, Finance and City Governance Committee.
Madam Chair, I move that the report of the Finance and City Governance Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025 be adopted.
Seconded.
It has been moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Huang that the report of the Finance and City Governance Committee meeting dated Tuesday, 25th of February 2025 be adopted. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just so that councillors can get back and prepare their communities, I won't be making any further comments about the committee report. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers? Councillor Johnston?
Just briefly, I will on this item. This is one area where Brisbane City Council has completely missed the boat. And if this is a presentation that talks about Council's civic education program, it is woefully inadequate. Certainly hosting citizenship services is great. Granting keys to the city and the freedom of city parades is great, but none of these things are about bringing awareness to the community about civic responsibilities and rights. It is disappointing that Brisbane City Council does not run a schools education program. It is disappointing that Brisbane City Council fails to allow us to access the chamber for our tours without months in advance approval, without being supervised. People aren't allowed to come in. If you look at what the state government does, they run mini parliaments, they are engaging, they bring children in. It has been a huge problem that this council has failed to recognise the importance of democratic procedure to the city. It's not a surprise because this regime runs as a dictatorship, but this is woefully inadequate. It is, I think,
shocking that council thinks this is something it should promote and talk about when it fails in almost every way to fully address what council does. It is interesting, I think, that yeah, look, I'll leave it there. This is woeful. If this is the best council's got, you can do better and should do better.
Are there any further speakers? Deputy Mayor. We'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Councillors, are there any petitions? Councillor Johnston.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'm tabling a petition on behalf of Councillor Massey.
Councillor Huang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a petition about a DA in Upper Margaret.
Councillor Howard.
I have two petitions. One is about the first fight for ever story time in our libraries, and the other is about parking in Fortitude Valley.
Councillor Dixon, may I have a motion of the receipt of the petitions?
Chair, I move that the petitions as presented be received and referred to the committee concerned for consideration and report.
Second.
It has been moved by Councillor Dixon and seconded by Councillor Strunk that all petitions as presented be received and referred to the committee concerned for consideration and report. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Councillors, are there any statements required as a result of an Office of the Independent Assessor or Councillor Ethics Committee order? We shall now move to general business. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Johnston.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I do want to speak in general business just for a few minutes about the Lord Mayor's comments earlier today. Having been through several natural disasters and them having problems depending on the type of natural disaster, this council has not a lot of trust in our community in terms of its preparedness. It is shocking that we stand here this afternoon and Brisbane City Council has not opened a cyclone evacuation centre. Now, that's not to say flooding, but this is for people who need somewhere to go to avoid the storm, to avoid the cyclone itself. Now, I am aware that Council is looking at 5 locations, some of which are not possible for a range of technical reasons. Yet again, none of them are anywhere near my ward. Councillor Wines told us this morning that all the roads will be closed. All the bridges will be closed. I apologise. All the bridges will be closed. And he wouldn't say when. He wouldn't be...
Point of order. I'm clearly being misrepresented.
One moment. I haven't called you, Councillor Wines. What's your point of order? I'm
clearly being misrepresented. I'd like an opportunity to respond later.
I note your misrepresentation, and I remind all councillors to remain quiet while another councillor is on their feet.
So Councillor Wines this morning at 9:30 in the Infrastructure Committee very clearly told everybody that all bridges in Brisbane were closing. He said it in front of multiple witnesses. It was inept and shocking. Now, I understand if there are stay-home orders that are going to be issued by people in authority, and I understand that there may be advice given about this, but if Brisbane City Council is going to shut down roads that connect parts of our city without notice, without arrangements for emergency vehicles, that is appalling. Now, this is what Councillor Wines did in about a minute this morning in committee. Now, I note the Lord Mayor has still not mentioned it. I note that it's not in any of the official communication. In addition to that, we move on to the next committee, and Councillor Hutton says, oh, you'll all be getting sit reps at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And I said, well, hang on, what happened to the morning ones?
Point of order, Chair.
Point of order, Councillor Hutton.
Claim to be misrepresented.
I note your claim of
Again,
misrepresentation.
multiple people, multiple witnesses, everyone sitting there. Councillor Hutton then goes, and this is the best bit, oh, I'm just giving you as much information as I can. And and it's the wrong information. I mean, this is not rocket science. You give factual, clear information to people in the event of an emergency. She then tells us, and I suppose spoke to somebody else in the room and said, oh, the sit rep will be coming out at 1 and 5 p.m. 2:17 p.m. today. So look, I know Councillor Hutton is not running this, but this is where there is a problem. When people in authority give out information that is factually incorrect, that is made up, that may be part of internal discussions, that may be what they think should happen, but it is not what is actually happening, it is not factual, it is not reliable, that leads to problems. Now, Councillor Wines and Councillor Hutton this morning both gave us incorrect information. And I note the Lord Mayor has not said anything about all the bridges being shut. So I presume that the Premier may make some announcements about stay-at-home orders over the next day or so. But to panic people the way these two have today by providing incorrect and false information in the middle of preparation for a natural disaster is not okay. This is what I mean when the Lord Mayor stands up and says we want to cooperate with everybody. I want to start with everybody getting accurate information, everybody getting timely information, everybody getting the same information, and making sure that we all have access to that information. That's what we need. And that's not what happened this morning, and I hope that people don't go down this path, because we need to be prepared for this cyclone. And I know everybody is doing their best to do so. But please, do not provide us information that you don't know is not true or may not yet be official. It needs to be factual, accurate, reliable and timely. That is what we need in a natural disaster, not false information from Councillor Wines and incorrect information from Councillor Hutton. And I hope everybody stays safe over the next few days and stays at home while the storm is on, and let's hope there's no flood.
Councillor Wines, your point of misrepresentation.
Thanks again, Madam Chair. Once again, Councillor Johnson left out key parts of what I said. In a shock twist, what I said is if winds exceed 90 kilometres per hour, it is likely that bridges will need to close because it is not safe to drive over water with those sorts of winds. But not only that, I think it's important to remind people at those sort of winds, your motor vehicle will likely be pushed around. There will be flying debris at your motor vehicle. Like, please seriously consider staying at home.
Thank you, Councillor Wines. Councillor Hutton, point of misrepresentation.
Madam Chair, much like Councillor Wines, I did speak to the fact that we are relying upon critical information via SITREPs. Yes, I did get the time right, but I corrected it in the meeting. And I really just want to make sure that we can collaborate together in this natural disaster. It is to serve the community together. It is not about individuals, it's about serving the community.
Thank you. Further speakers? No further speakers? I call the meeting closed. Stay safe, everybody.